Hi, this is Matt Clark, and this video is about outsourcing your Amazon private label and wholesale business. First off, why would you want to outsource this? First, lots of mundane tasks that aren't really the best use of your time. There's a lot of stuff you'll have to do as far as processing orders. If you're not using fulfillment by Amazon, then you're definitely going to have to be processing orders, sending those orders to whoever's shipping products for you, even monitoring customer metrics, responding to customer messages. That kind of stuff is all best done by, see this number 2 here, a $3 to $6 outsourcer. You could basically find somebody to do data entry and customer service on a site like elance.com or odesk.com. They can do all that stuff for you, and it's very, very cheap, and it's not really the best use of your time. And importantly, it allows you to focus on managing and growing your business, finding more private label products, building more supplier relationships, finding better pricing, all that sort of stuff that takes a little more creativity. That kind of stuff is what you need to be focusing on, not the sort of day-to-day, sort of mundane tasks that, basically anybody could do. So what to outsource? This is the first slide for this. Label design, I threw that first because it's sort of one of the earlier steps in the process. If you are having a product private labeled and you have to get a label and you're not a designer yourself, even if you are, you still might consider outsourcing it. But you can find one on an outsourcing site, somebody to do that sort of label design. Just send them the specs, whatever information the manufacturer gives you, it says needs to go on the label, send that to them and they can create you a nice little label. So that's an obvious thing to outsource. Processing orders. Now this is if you're not using fulfillment by Amazon, because if you're using fulfillment by Amazon, you don't have to do anything as far as processing orders. But if you, that's if you are using fulfillment by Amazon, but if you're not using it, then you can basically have an outsourcer looking for new orders in Amazon. They'll see that right in their sort of seller dashboard. I would actually recommend setting up a new user for them. That's very easy to do within the seller central dashboard. You basically set up a new user and just sort of limit their access so they can't see financial information and change user data and that kind of thing. But past that, I mean, they can basically find the new orders for you, and they can handle printing, packing slips, and shipping labels to PDFs. Basically all that can be done, just regular order processing, all within Amazon Seller Central. You can actually click the buy postage button and Amazon will print you a packing slip, and they can basically just print all that to PDFs if they're overseas and then send those PDFs to the shipping team. Shipping team will basically put the packing slip inside the package, shipping label on top of the package, and that's basically that. So all that sort of little process can be handled by an outsourcer. And inputting tracking numbers, if you buy postage directly on Amazon, just by clicking the buy postage button next to an order, Amazon will basically automatically put the tracking number in there for you. But if you are printing your own postage, that kind of thing, then you could basically have your outsourcer input those tracking numbers, which is highly recommended. So part 2 of what to outsource, I recommend you have them monitor customer metrics, just your overall account performance, the good, poor, bad. They can basically be monitoring that. They can be monitoring the individual customer metrics, such as order defect rate, which they really only need to tell you something if something's out of whack, if something's outside of Amazon's scope of what they think is good. They can also monitor seller rating and reviews. You can have them respond to reviews as they come through if they're bad reviews, and basically try to resolve that for the customer and ask the customer to remove the bad rating as soon as you solve their problem. I recommend having them monitor inventory levels, especially if you're selling private label products. Even if you are doing fulfillment by Amazon, you're going to have to send inventory back to Amazon. If you're not doing fulfillment by Amazon, you're still going to have to monitor inventory levels to know when you need to reorder. So you should have your outsourcer doing that. You should have them checking for customer messages within Amazon or in your customer message or customer email account. Having them check for A to Z guarantees, very, very important, and responding to those as fast as possible. Have them communicate with customers, respond to their messages, and answer their questions and that sort of thing. And then also checking for emails from Amazon. If there's ever anything weird going on with your Amazon account, or your account goes under review and that kind of thing, you want to know right away so you can get that resolved. So basically having them check for that kind of thing and report to you if any of that stuff comes through. You might be getting those emails yourself depending on how you have it set up, but in all likelihood you can have an outsourcer do that and just make sure they report all that to you as fast as possible. So with all these steps, I mean, you could basically have one outsourcer doing all of this in your entire account. One outsourcer, you pay $3 to $6 an hour. They can basically work about 5 hours a day, depending on how many, if you're processing your orders, printing all those shipping labels, that kind of thing takes a while. Um, but in all likelihood, I mean, you can have somebody basically working anywhere between 2 to 5 hours a day at $3 to $6 an hour, and they can basically handle all of this stuff for you. So what not to outsource? First off, choosing what products to sell and niches to go into. This is sort of the bread and butter of how well your account's going to perform. You need to be out there finding opportunities, finding good products to sell, because my overall recommendation is to focus on a small subset of products. With that said, it's not like you're going to have to go out and do this all the time unless you just want to continually grow your account, but you're going to have more and more to manage. So I recommend going slowly, but basically choosing what products to sell, researching those kind of things, using the software we've provided you, basically looking at those things and finding out what products to sell, opportunities to tap into. I recommend that you do that yourself. You can have somebody outsource it, but I recommend you do it yourself so that you make sure that your Amazon account is going the direction you want it to go and as fast as you want it to go. Second off, determining inventory orders. I say this because I've had problems with this myself in the past. If staff members, not even outsourcers, staff members that actually work with you in your own office and work for you, if their compensation is generally not tied to the overall financial performance of the company, at least in the short term, anyways. With that said, a lot of times they'll go out there and just start hog wild placing orders for inventory, and then before you know it, you'll have a whole lot of inventory that you're not selling, and that's a lot of cash that's been tied up. You start running into cash flow issues, all kinds of bad things. So I recommend that you determine what inventory orders to place. You can have an outsourcer reporting to you what's low, etc., etc. But inventory forecasting is not an easy thing. I mean, there's people who pay $150,000 for pieces of software to basically do that. That's when people are carrying a ton of products and that kind of thing. But with your small subset of products, it still takes some, intelligence to basically, have a feel for how many you need to order. So I recommend you can have an outsourcer actually place those orders for you, call the manufacturer, place it on their website, however that's done. But I recommend that you determine what needs to be placed and how much to actually order.